She called him a loser, laughed at his stained work boots, and told her friends she only kept him around to fix things she didn't want to pay a professional for. At high-end parties, she introduced him as her assistant instead of her husband. Her parents joined in, constantly reminding him that he should be grateful a woman of her status even looked at him. He stayed silent. He had made a promise to his late mother never to reveal who he really was until he was sure. Then, one night, while she was busy roasting him in front of the city's elite, the double doors swung open. A fleet of black SUVs had pulled up outside, and a man walked in, a man the business world treated like a ghost. The music stopped. Vanessa's cruel laugh died in her throat when the old billionaire walked straight up to the loser husband and said, "I hear you've been disrespecting my son, the sole owner of the bank you hold your loans with." What happened next made the whole room gasp. This is where the story truly begins. Before we dive in, what time is it where you are? Which country are you watching from? Leave a comment and let me know. And please hit that like button and subscribe to become part of Mama Joyce's Chronicles community for more inspiring stories. Lucas felt that familiar knot in his chest tighten as Vanessa slammed the car door shut. She didn't wait for him. She was already marching toward her parents' driveway, her heels clicking aggressively against the pavement. Sunday brunch at the Maxwell estate was a weekly ritual, and for Lucas, it was a weekly torture session. "Try to keep up, Lucas," Vanessa snapped over her shoulder, not even looking at him. "And for God's sake, tuck your shirt in. You look like you just clocked out of the warehouse." "I did," Lucas said calmly, catching up to her. "I worked a double shift so we could pay for that vacation you wanted." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop acting like a martyr. It's manual labor, Lucas. A monkey could do it. Don't act like you're running a corporation." Lucas bit his tongue. He adjusted his collar and repeated the promise in his head. Wait for the truth. Mom said, wait until you know her heart. He had been waiting 3 years, and every day her heart looked darker. The house smelled like lavender and judgment. Vanessa's parents, Gary and Brenda Maxwell, were already sitting on the patio, sipping mimosas. They looked up as the couple entered. Their smiles were tight, the kind that didn't reach their eyes. "There she is," Gary boomed, standing up to hug his daughter, "the rising star of the marketing world." He looked at Lucas, and his face went flat. And Lucas, still driving that rusted truck? "It gets me from A to B, Gary," Lucas said, pulling out a chair for Vanessa. She sat down without thanking him. Brenda swirled her drink, eyeing Lucas's hands. "You have grease under your fingernail, dear. It's very distracting." Lucas put his hands in his lap. "Sorry, Brenda, tough week." "I bet," Brenda chuckled, though it sounded cold. "Must be exhausting lifting boxes all day while my daughter is out there closing million-dollar deals. It's a strange dynamic, isn't it? Usually the man is the provider." Vanessa laughed, taking a sip of her drink. "Mom, don't tease him. He tries. Not everyone has ambition. Someone has to sweep the floors, right?" The table erupted in laughter. Lucas sat there, staring at his empty plate. He wasn't angry at the joke. He was angry that Vanessa, the woman he vowed to protect, was leading the charge. When they first met, Vanessa had been different, or maybe he had just been blind. She had seemed sweet, down to earth, but the moment they got married and she got a promotion, she changed. She became obsessed with image, with status, with appearing perfect, and Lucas, he became her dirty little secret. "So," Gary said, leaning back, "big gala coming up this weekend, the winter solstice party. Who are you taking, Vanessa?" Lucas looked up. He assumed they would go together. Vanessa cleared her throat and looked at her nails. Well, I'm going with my team, obviously. It's a networking event, Dad. High profile. I need to be focused. I can drive us, Lucas offered quietly. I bought a new suit. It's nice. Vanessa turned to him, her expression shifting from annoyance to pity. Oh, honey, no, you can't come inside. It's invite only for important people, investors, CEOs. You wouldn't understand the conversation. You'd just stand there looking awkward. I can hold a conversation, Lucas said, steady. About what? Brenda interjected. Forklifts? Lunch breaks? Please, Lucas, don't embarrass her. Let Vanessa shine. You can wait in the car if you really want to be supportive. Wait in the car? Lucas repeated. I'm her husband, not her chauffeur. Vanessa slammed her hand on the table. Stop making this about you. You always do this. You're so sensitive. Look, if you really want to come, fine, but you are not walking in with me. You can come in through the service entrance and help the event staff set up. Maybe then you'll actually be useful. Lucas felt the blood rush to his face. The service entrance? His own wife wanted him to sneak into a party as hired help just so she wouldn't be seen with him? I'm not doing that, Lucas said firmly. Vanessa glared at him, her eyes cold and sharp. Then stay home, honestly. It's better that way. You're just dead weight, Lucas. I'm trying to climb a ladder and you're clinging to my ankle, dragging me down. The table went silent. Gary and Brenda smirked, enjoying the show. Lucas stood up slowly. I'm going for a walk. Go ahead, Vanessa waved him off. Walk all the way home if you want. Saves me gas money. Lucas walked out of the patio, through the house and onto the street. He didn't go home. He walked to a park nearby and sat on a bench, pulling out his phone. He stared at a contact saved simply as Dad. He hadn't called the number in years, not since he left the estate to prove he could make it on his own, to find someone who loved him for him. He thought he found that with Vanessa, but now, sitting alone while his wife laughed about his poverty with her parents, the blindfold was finally coming off. He remembered his mother's last words, "Don't let the money define you, but don't let anyone trample on your dignity either." He was about to put the phone away when he got a text from Vanessa. Don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning on your way back, and don't touch the silk with your dirty hands. Lucas stared at the screen. Something inside him didn't break, it hardened. It shifted into something cold and resolved. He looked at the Dad contact again. He didn't press call yet, but for the first time in a long time, his thumb hovered over the button. He wasn't ready to blow his cover today, but the gala, the winter solstice party, that was sponsored by Sterling Enterprises, his father's company. If Vanessa wanted him to use the service entrance, maybe he would, but not in the way she thought. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Lucas walked into their apartment carrying Vanessa's dry-cleaned dress like it was a bomb that might go off. He had spent the last 20 minutes in traffic making sure the plastic cover didn't wrinkle because he knew exactly what would happen if it did. Vanessa was in the living room, frantically typing on her laptop. She didn't look up when he entered. "Did you get the stain out?" she asked, her eyes glued to the screen. "Yeah, it looks brand new," Lucas said, hanging it carefully on the doorframe. She finally looked up, scanning the dress with eyes like lasers. She walked over, inspecting the hem, then the zipper. "Okay, good. At least you didn't mess this up." She turned back to her computer. "I need everything perfect for tomorrow night. I heard a rumor that the owner of Sterling Enterprises might actually show up. The old man himself, or maybe his son. No one has seen the son in years." Lucas felt a chill run down his spine. He kept his face neutral. "Why is that a big deal?" Vanessa scoffed, shaking her head. "Why is it a big deal? Lucas, Sterling Enterprises owns half the city. If I can get 5 minutes with the owner, I can secure funding for my agency for the next decade. I'll be untouchable." She looked at him with disdain. "But you wouldn't get that. You think small. That's your problem." "I think about what matters," Lucas said quietly. "Paying rent matters, Lucas. Buying a house that isn't a shoebox matters." She stood up and brushed past him. "I'm going to get a facial. Don't wait up." The next evening, the tension in the apartment was thick enough to choke on. Vanessa was a whirlwind of nerves and hairspray. She wore a shimmering emerald gown that cost more than Lucas made in 3 months. She looked stunning, but her face was twisted into a scowl. "Are you ready?" she snapped, grabbing her clutch. Lucas walked out of the bedroom wearing his new suit. It was a simple black suit, off the rack, but it fit him well. He had polished his boots until they shone. "I'm ready." Vanessa stopped. She looked him up and down, and for a second she thought she might compliment him. Instead, she let out a sigh. "It looks cheap, Lucas. The fabric, it just screams budget. Please, when we get there, don't stand too close to me. I don't want people thinking I couldn't afford a stylist for my husband." Lucas tightened his jaw, but nodded. "Let's just go." The drive to the gala was silent. Vanessa checked her makeup in the rearview mirror every 30 seconds. As they approached the venue, a massive, glittering hotel downtown, the line of limousines was endless. Valets were running back and forth, opening doors for celebrities and tycoons. Vanessa pulled her car, a leased luxury sedan, toward the curb. But she didn't pull up to the valet stand. She stopped a block away, in a shadowy corner near a dumpster. "Get out here," she said. Lucas looked at her. "Here? It's a block away. It's freezing." "I can't be seen pulling up with you in the passenger seat looking like that," she hissed. "I need to make an entrance alone. It looks more powerful, independent." "Vanessa, we're married," Lucas said, his voice hardening. "Technically," she muttered. She reached into her purse and pulled out a wrinkled $20 bill. She shoved it into his chest. "Here, go find a diner or something. Get yourself a burger. Don't come inside, Lucas. I mean it. I texted security that my assistant might try to crash the party. They'll throw you out if you try." Lucas stared at the money in his hand. The disrespect wasn't just a wave anymore. It was a tsunami. "You told security I'm your assistant?" "She did what I had to do to protect my reputation," she said, unlocking the doors. "Now get out, you're making me late." Lucas opened the door and stepped onto the cold pavement. He watched as his wife, the woman he had supported when she had nothing, sped off toward the lights and the cameras, leaving him standing next to a pile of trash bags. He looked at the $20. Then he looked at the glowing entrance of the hotel. He didn't walk to a diner. He adjusted his tie, threw the $20 bill into the trash can, and began walking straight toward the main entrance of the gala. He reached the front of the line. The head of security, a massive man named Tiny, who had worked for the Sterling family for 20 years, was checking the guest list. He looked fierce, turning away anyone who wasn't on the list. Vanessa was just ahead, handing her coat to the check-in girl. She glanced back and saw Lucas. Her eyes went wide with panic. She started to mouth, "Go away!" Lucas ignored her. He stepped up to the velvet rope. Tiny, the security guard, looked down at him, ready to bark an order to leave. But then, Tiny's eyes locked onto Lucas's face. His expression froze. He squinted, then his face turned pale. He leaned over the rope, his voice dropping to a terrified whisper. "Mr. Sterling? Is that you?" Lucas put a finger to his lips and smiled. "Hello, Tiny. Keep it quiet. I'm just here to watch the show." Vanessa watched from the lobby, confused. She saw the scary guard lean in, she saw Lucas whisper something, and then she saw the velvet rope drop. She watched as her loser husband walked past the security team like he owned the building. She didn't know it yet, but the ground beneath her high heels was about to crumble. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Vanessa marched across the lobby floor. her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble. She grabbed Lucas by the arm and dragged him behind a large potted palm tree, out of sight of the cameras. Her nails dug into his suit jacket. "Are you insane?" she hissed, her eyes wide with fury. "I told you to leave. How did you even get past Tiny? He eats guys like you for breakfast." Lucas adjusted his cuff, calmly removing her hand from his arm. "I just asked politely, Vanessa. Maybe kindness opens more doors than you think." "Kindness?" She let out a sharp, cruel laugh. "Tiny probably thought you were here to unclog a toilet. Look at you. You're sweating." "I'm not sweating," Lucas said, "and I'm not leaving. You said you wanted to make an impression tonight. I'm here to help you." "Help me? You'll ruin me!" She frantically looked around to see if anyone was watching. "Listen to me closely. You stay 10 feet behind me. Do not speak to anyone. Do not look at anyone. If someone asks who you are my assistant and you are mute. Do you understand?" Lucas looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the fear behind the arrogance. She was terrified of being exposed as ordinary. "I understand that you're ashamed of me," he said quietly. "I'm ashamed of your lack of effort, Lucas. Now move." She walked back into the crowd, putting on a dazzling smile as if a switch had been flipped. Lucas followed at a distance. The ballroom was breathtaking. Gold chandeliers the size of small cars, tables laden with caviar and lobster, and the city's elite mingling in clusters of wealth. Lucas recognized half the people in the room. There was Mr. Henderson from the logistics board, who used to give Lucas candy when he was a kid visiting his dad's office. There was Sarah Jenkins, the tech mogul, who played golf with his mother. He had to keep his head down, not out of shame, but to keep from being recognized before he was ready. "Vanessa!" a slick voice called out. "Vanessa, so good to see you!" Vanessa lit up. "Derek, so good to see you!" Derek was a senior partner at Vanessa's firm. He wore a suit that cost more than Lucas's truck and had a smile that looked like it was practiced in a mirror. He held a glass of scotch and looked Vanessa up and down with hungry eyes. "You look expensive tonight, V. Definitely partner material." "That's the plan," Vanessa giggled, flipping her hair. Derek's eyes slid over her shoulder and landed on Lucas. His smile curled into a sneer. "And who is this? The coat check guy get lost?" Vanessa stiffened. "Oh, him? That's just Lucas. He's holding my purse later." Derek laughed, a loud barking sound. "Lucas? Ah, the husband! The one who fixes sinks, right? Hey, buddy, nice suit. Did it come with a name tag?" Lucas held Derek's gaze. He didn't blink. "It keeps me warm, Derek, unlike that personality of yours." Derek's smile dropped. The air between them crackled. Vanessa gasped and shoved Lucas back. "Excuse him," she squeaked, terrified. "He has this weird sense of humor. He's leaving. Actually, go get us drinks, Lucas, now." She glared at him with pure venom. "Go, or we are done." Lucas didn't move for a second. He watched Derek smirk. He watched his wife grovel for the approval of a man who had zero integrity. "2 champagnes," Derek ordered, waving his hand dismissively at Lucas. "Top shelf. Don't bring us the cheap stuff." Lucas turned and walked toward the bar. As he moved through the crowd, he heard whispers. The room was buzzing with one specific topic. "Is he here? I heard the Sterling heir is finally coming out of hiding. Imagine if he walks in. That family is worth $20 billion. Anyone he talks to tonight is made for life." Lucas reached the bar. The bartender, an old man named Arthur who had served Lucas his first soda at a company picnic 20 years ago, looked up. Arthur's eyes widened. He dropped the shaker he was holding. "Master Lou," Arthur started. "Shh," Lucas whispered, leaning over the bar. "Just a tonic water, Arthur, and keep it between us." Arthur nodded vigorously, wiping his brow. Of course, sir. Of course. It's good to have you back. Lucas took his drink and turned back to the room. He saw Vanessa and Derek laughing, their heads close together. Vanessa was pointing at the stage, looking desperate, hungry for a glimpse of the Sterling family. She had no idea that she had just sent the Sterling heir to fetch her a drink like a servant. But she was about to notice. Oh, she was about to notice everything. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. The backstage area was a different world. It was quiet, smelling of expensive cologne and ozone. Lucas walked past the busy stagehands and into the private green room. Sitting on a leather sofa, reviewing a speech on a tablet, was William Sterling, the billionaire, the legend, the man the entire city feared and revered. He looked up when Lucas entered, his face, usually made of stone, softened into a smile that only one person in the world ever saw. "You're late," William said, his voice deep and gravelly. "I was starting to think you decided to keep playing dress-up in the warehouse." Lucas poured himself a glass of water, his hands shaking slightly. "It's not dress-up, Dad. It was an experiment." "An experiment that failed," William said bluntly. He stood up, towering over Lucas. "I saw the security feed, son. I saw how she talks to you. I saw her make you get out of the car a block away like you were a bag of trash." William's eyes darkened. "Why do you let her do it? You are a Sterling. We don't bow to anyone." "I wanted to be sure, Dad," Lucas said, staring at the floor. "I wanted to know that if I lost everything, the money, the name, the power, she would still stand by me. Mom always said real love doesn't care about the price tag." William sighed, placing a heavy hand on Lucas's shoulder. "Your mother was a saint, but Vanessa, she's a shark, Lucas, and sharks don't love, they eat." "I know," Lucas whispered. "I know that now." "Then end it," William said. "Come out on stage with me tonight. Let's introduce you to the world. Let her see exactly what she threw away." Lucas shook his head. "Not yet. I need to see one last thing. I need to see her face when she thinks I've truly hit rock bottom. If there is even 1 ounce of humanity left in her, I want to find it. If not, then we burn it all down." William straightened his tie. "You're stubborn, just like your mother." A stage manager poked his head in. 5 seconds, Mr. Sterling." William turned to the door. "Watch from the wings, son, or go back out there. But remember, tonight the hiding stops." William walked out toward the bright lights. The roar of the crowd was deafening. It vibrated through the floorboards. Lucas waited a beat, then slipped out a side door that led back to the main ballroom floor, emerging near the VIP section. Out in the crowd, Vanessa was practically hyperventilating. She was standing on her tiptoes, clutching Derek's arm. "There he is!" she squealed as William Sterling took the podium. "Oh my God, he looks at me! I swear he looked right at me!" "He's looking at the crowd, babe," Derek laughed, sipping his drink. "But hey, maybe he senses your ambition. It's spicy." William began his speech, his voice commanding the room. He spoke about legacy, about the future, about the importance of family. Vanessa was entranced, but then movement in her peripheral vision caught her eye. She turned her head and froze. Standing near the VIP rope, just a few feet away from the most expensive table in the room, was Lucas. He was holding his cheap tonic water, looking calm, watching the speech. Vanessa's blood ran cold. What is he doing there? He was standing next to the mayor. If he opened his mouth, if he said something stupid, if anyone realized he was her husband... She grabbed Derek. "I'll be right back." "Where are you going?" "To take out the trash," she hissed. Vanessa wove through the crowd, eyes locked on Lucas. She didn't approach him calmly. She marched up to him like a soldier going to war. She grabbed his elbow and yanked him hard, pulling him away from the VIP rope. "What, are you out of your mind?" she whispered, her voice trembling with rage. "Get away from there! That is the mayor's table! You are breathing on important people!" Lucas pulled his arm back. "I'm just listening to the speech, Vanessa." "You don't belong here," she snapped, loud enough that a few heads turned. "Look at you! Your suit is polyester. Your haircut is a joke. You look like a waiter who got lost. You are embarrassing me!" "I haven't said a word to anyone," Lucas said calmly. "Your existence is embarrassing me!" she shouted. She was losing control. The stress of the night, the desire to impress, it was all boiling over. "Derek was right," she spat. "You're just an anchor, and I think I'm finally ready to cut the rope." Lucas looked at her, his face unreadable. "You're doing this here? Now?" "You're doing it wherever I want," she sneered. She reached for the glass of red wine from a passing waiter's tray. "You want to ruin my night? Fine, let's make it memorable." She raised the glass. Lucas didn't flinch. But before she could throw it, a booming voice echoed from the stage, amplified by the massive speakers, silencing the entire hotel. "Is there a problem down there?" Vanessa froze. The glass hovered in her hand. She slowly turned her head toward the stage. William Sterling was looking directly at her, and he didn't look happy. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Vanessa's hand trembled, the red wine rippling in the glass. She slowly lowered it, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The entire ballroom was staring at her. Worse, William Sterling was staring at her. She forced a smile, bright and brittle. "Oh, Mr. Sterling, I am so terribly sorry," she called out, her voice pitching up an octave. "Just a minor personnel issue. We're handling it." William didn't smile back. He stepped away from the podium and began walking down the stage stairs. The crowd parted instantly, creating a wide path for him. He moved with the weight of a tank. Vanessa's palms began to sweat. "He's coming over here," she hissed to Derek. "Oh my God, look natural. Stand up straight." "I am standing straight," Derek muttered, looking nervous. William stopped 3 feet from them. Up close, he was even more intimidating. He smelled of expensive tobacco and absolute power. He looked at Vanessa, then he looked at Lucas. "I don't tolerate disruptions at my events," William said, his voice low and dangerous. "Who is this man, and why were you screaming at him?" Vanessa laughed, a nervous tinkling sound. "This? Oh, Mr. Sterling, please don't waste your energy on him. He's nobody." She shot Lucas a warning glare that said, "Keep your mouth shut." "He's just a driver I hired. He showed up drunk and started making a scene. I was just correcting him." Lucas looked at his wife. She had just demoted him from husband to assistant and now to a drunk driver. The betrayal didn't sting anymore. It numbed him. William raised an eyebrow. He looked at Lucas. "Is that true? You're just a driver?" Lucas opened his mouth to speak, to drop the bomb right then and there, but he saw the desperation in Vanessa's eyes. She was terrified, and for a fleeting second, he remembered the woman he used to love. He decided to give her one last shovel to dig her grave deeper. "If that's what the lady says," Lucas said calmly. Derek stepped forward, sensing an opportunity to look tough in front of the billionaire. "He's actually worse than a driver, sir. He's a leech. We were just telling him to leave before security had to drag him out. He doesn't belong among people like, well, us." William turned his gaze to Derek. "Us?" You know, Derek smirked, adjusting his silk tie. Success stories, people who contribute to the economy. This guy, he's wearing a suit he probably bought at a thrift store. Derek laughed, expecting William to join in. William didn't laugh. He stared at Derek until Derek's smile faded into an awkward twitch. "I see," William said. He turned back to Vanessa. "You seem very concerned with image, young lady." "Image is everything in business, Mr. Sterling," Vanessa said, beaming. She thought she was nailing the interview. "I run a top-tier marketing agency. I know that you have to cut the dead weight if you want to fly. And this man," she gestured at Lucas with her wine glass, "is the heaviest weight I know." William looked at Lucas. There was a secret communication between father and son, a micro nod. "Not yet," William's eyes said. "Let them finish." "Well," William said, clasping his hands behind his back, "I admire ruthlessness, but only when it's directed at the right targets." Vanessa's eyes lit up. She thought he was complimenting her. "Exactly! That's what I always say." In fact, she turned to Lucas, feeling emboldened by the billionaire's presence. She wanted to prove she was strong. "Lucas," she said, her voice icy, "give me your keys." Lucas blinked. "What?" "The car keys," she demanded, holding out her hand. "I'm fired. You can walk home. I don't want you driving my car. I don't want you in my apartment when I get back. Pack your bags. We're done." The crowd gasped quietly. A public firing, a public breakup. It was brutal. Lucas reached into his pocket. He pulled out the keys to the sedan he had spent months saving up to fix for her. He placed them in her hand. "You sure about this, Vanessa?" Lucas asked softly. "Once I walk out those doors, I'm not coming back." "That's the point, loser," Derek sneered. Vanessa curled her fingers around the keys. "I have never been more sure of anything. Get out of my sight. You're staining the scenery." Lucas looked at her one last time. He nodded to William, a respectful nod that looked like submission to everyone else, but was actually a promise to his father. "Enjoy your night. I hope it's worth it." He turned and walked away. The crowd watched him go, a lone figure in a cheap suit walking toward the exit. Vanessa let out a long breath, flipping her hair back. She turned to William with a winning smile. "So sorry about that, Mr. Sterling. Trash has been taken out. Now I'd love to talk to you about my agency." William watched Lucas disappear through the double doors. He turned back to Vanessa, and for the first time he smiled. But it wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just watched a mouse walk into a trap. "Actually," William said, checking his watch, "I think the entertainment is just beginning." Vanessa frowned, confused. I don't understand." "You will," William said. He signaled to the DJ booth. "Turn the music off." The music died instantly. The room went silent again. "Tiny?" William barked. The massive head of security appeared from the shadows. "Yes, sir." "Lock the doors," William said, his voice echoing through the hall. "No one leaves. I have a family matter to settle." Vanessa's smile faltered. She looked at the locked doors, then at the billionaire, and suddenly the air in the room felt very, very thin. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. The sound of the heavy double doors locking echoed like a gunshot in the silent ballroom. A ripple of nervous whispers moved through the crowd. People who were worth millions of dollars suddenly looked like scared schoolchildren. Vanessa clutched her clutch bag so tight her knuckles turned white. She looked at Derek, whose arrogant smirk had vanished completely. "Why is he locking us in?" she whispered. Is this a hostage situation?" "Don't be stupid," Derek hissed, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It's a power move. Billionaires do this stuff. He probably wants to make sure everyone listens to his keynote speech." Vanessa nodded, trying to calm her breathing. "Right. Yes, He just wants our full attention. This is good. It means he has something huge to say." William Sterling walked back up the stairs to the stage, moving with a slow, predatory grace. He adjusted the microphone. "I built Sterling Enterprises on one principle," he began, his voice booming. "Loyalty. You can buy buildings, you can buy stocks, you can even buy people's silence, but you cannot buy loyalty." He paused, letting his eyes scan the room. When his gaze landed on Vanessa, he didn't blink. "Tonight, I witnessed a display that disgusted me," William continued. "I saw someone treat a human being like garbage because they didn't have the right shoes, because they didn't have a fancy title." Vanessa nudged Derek. "He's talking about the waitstaff," she whispered confidently. "He's so noble. That's why he's rich. He cares about the little people." "Exactly," Derek nodded. "We should clap." Vanessa started a slow clap, but stopped immediately when she realized no one else was joining in. William ignored her. "I have decided to hand over the keys to the new downtown skyscraper project tonight. The deed is signed. The owner is here." Vanessa gasped. The downtown skyscraper project was the biggest contract in the city. Whoever ran that marketing account would be set for life. Could it be us?" she whispered to Derek. "He looked at us earlier." "Tiny," William called out to the security guard at the back. "Bring him in." Vanessa straightened her posture. She fixed her hair. She prepared her humbled but capable face. She watched the back doors, expecting a young tycoon in an Italian suit, maybe a secret Sterling cousin. The doors opened, and Lucas walked back in. He hadn't changed. He was still wearing the same off-the-rack black suit. He still had the same scuffed boots, but something about him was different. He wasn't walking with his head down anymore. He was walking with his chin up, staring straight ahead. Vanessa's jaw dropped. Confusion washed over her, followed quickly by anger. "Oh, for God's sakes!" she groaned loudly. "He came back? Again?" She stepped out of the crowd, intercepting Lucas before he could reach the stage. She blocked his path, her hands on her hips. "I thought I fired you," she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "Did you not hear me? I took your keys. I ended us. Why are you crawling back in here? To beg?" Lucas stopped. He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of pity in his eyes. "I'm not here for you, Vanessa." "Not here for me?" she laughed, a high-pitched, hysterical sound. "Everything in your sad little life is about me. I am your son. You revolve around me. Now turn around and get out before I have Tiny throw you out." She reached out to shove his cheap suit, but before her hand could touch his cheap suit, a massive hand caught her wrist. It wasn't Lucas, it was Tiny, the head of security. "Do not touch him," Tiny said. His voice was low, deep, and terrifying. Vanessa tried to yank her hand back. "Let go of me! Do you know who I am? I am the victim here. This stalker is harassing me." "Let her go, Tiny," Lucas said softly. Tiny released her wrist instantly. He stepped back, bowed his head to Lucas, and said, "Sorry, sir." Vanessa froze. "Sir?" Why did the head of security just bow to her husband? From the stage, William Sterling's voice cut through the confusion. "Lucas, stop wasting time with the help. Come up here." The room went deadly silent. Vanessa blinked. She looked at the stage. Then she looked at Lucas. Her brain couldn't process the words. "Lucas? The help? He's talking to you?" Vanessa whispered, her voice trembling. Lucas didn't answer her. He just stepped around her like she was a traffic cone and walked towards the stairs. He walked up the steps, crossed the stage, and stood next to the billionaire.
William smiled, a real proud smile this time. He wrapped a heavy arm around Lucas's shoulder. "Ladies and gentlemen," William said, his voice echoing with pride, "I think there has been a misunderstanding tonight. This man is not a driver, he's not an assistant, and he certainly isn't a loser." William looked directly at Vanessa, whose face had gone pale white. "Meet my son, Lucas Sterling, the sole heir to my $20 billion estate and the new owner of the company you work for." The silence in the room shattered.
The sound of a champagne glass shattering against the marble floor broke the trance. Someone in the back had dropped their drink in pure shock. Vanessa stood frozen, her mouth slightly open, looking like a fish pulled out of water. She looked at William Sterling, the billionaire titan, and then at the man standing next to him, the man she had told to eat at a diner with $20. "Lucas Sterling?" she whispered, the name tasting like poison on her tongue. She shook her head violently, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. No, this is a joke. Is this a reality show? Are we on camera?" She looked around frantically for a camera crew. "Lucas, stop it! Tell your boss to stop. It's not funny anymore." William leaned into the microphone, his voice booming over the speakers. "The only joke in this room, Ms. Maxwell, is your ability to judge character." Vanessa's face went from pale to beet red. She took a stumbling step toward the stage. But he's a warehouse worker. He wears stained boots. He drives a truck that barely starts." "I drive that truck because it was the first thing I ever bought with my own money," Lucas said. His voice wasn't loud, but amplified by the sound system, it hit her like a physical blow. "And I worked in the warehouse because I wanted to know what it felt like to earn a paycheck, not just inherit one. I wanted to build a life with someone who loved me from me." He looked down at her from the stage, his eyes cold. "I guess I failed at that part." The crowd turned on her instantly. The same people who had laughed at her jokes about Lucas were now whispering loudly. "Can you believe her? She treated a Sterling like a servant. Talk about fumbling the bag. She just lost billions." Derek, standing next to Vanessa, looked like he was about to vomit. He realized he had just insulted the son of the most powerful man in the city. He slowly started to back away, trying to blend into the crowd, trying to put distance between himself and Vanessa. "Where are you going, Derek?" Lucas asked calmly into the mic. Derek froze. He turned back slowly, forcing a terrified smile. "Mr. Sterling, sir, I was just going to get you a fresh drink. That tonic water looked a little warm." "Stay right there," Lucas said. "We have business to discuss." Vanessa, seeing Derek crumble, decided to switch tactics. Her shock was replaced by survival instinct. She smoothed her dress, forced tears into her eyes, and looked up at Lucas with a trembling lip. The transformation was instant. "Lucas, baby," she choked out, holding her hands up in a pleading gesture. "I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? If I had known who you were, I never would have. I was just stressed. The gala, the pressure. You know how I get when I'm anxious." She started walking toward the stairs again, her confidence slowly returning. "I love you, Lucas. We're married, for better or for worse, right? This is just a big misunderstanding. Let's go home. Let's talk about this in our mansion? Do we have a mansion?" She reached the bottom step, reaching her hand out for him to pull her up. "Come on, honey, help me up. Everyone is watching." Lucas looked at her hand. Then he looked at his father. William crossed his arms and stepped back, giving the floor to his son. Lucas didn't reach for her hand. He reached into his inside pocket and pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen once and held it up to the microphone. A recording began to play over the speakers. It was Vanessa's voice, loud and clear. It was from 20 minutes ago.
I carry you, Lucas. I pay the rent. You are a burden. You're just an anchor. I'm finally ready to cut the rope." The recording ended. The echo of her cruelty hung in the air. Vanessa dropped her hand. She looked at the crowd. Everyone was staring at her with pure disgust. There was no spinning this. There was no marketing strategy that could fix this. "You called me an anchor," Lucas said softly. "You were right, Vanessa. I was holding you down. I was holding you back from showing the world who you really are." "Lucas, please," she whispered, the tears becoming real now, born of panic. "Don't do this here." "You wanted to make an entrance alone," Lucas said, his voice hardening. "You wanted to be independent. You wanted power." He took a step closer to the edge of the stage. "Well, congratulations, Vanessa. You're about to get exactly what you wanted. But first, there's one small detail you forgot about." "What?" she breathed. "You said you wanted to secure funding for your agency tonight. You said you wanted to impress the owner of the bank that holds your business loans." He paused, letting the silence stretch until it was painful. "My father gave me that bank as a wedding gift 3 years ago. I own your debt, Vanessa, every single cent of it." Vanessa's knees buckled. She grabbed the railing to stop herself from falling. "And tomorrow morning," Lucas said, "I'm calling it in." If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Vanessa gripped the edge of the stage, her knuckles white. The room was spinning. You can't call in the loan," she stammered, her voice shaking. "That's illegal. That's financial abuse. We are married, Lucas. My assets are your assets." "Correction," Lucas said, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. "Your assets are the bank's assets, and since you've missed 3 payments in the last 6 months to fund your lifestyle, vacations, designer bags, this dress you're wearing right now, the bank has the right to seize everything immediately. It's in the contract you signed without reading." "I was busy," Vanessa shrieked. "I'm a CEO. I don't read the fine print." "You should have," Lucas replied, "because the fine print also says that any disparagement of the lender is grounds for immediate termination of the agreement. And tonight, you didn't just disparage me, Vanessa, you humiliated me." Derek, standing a few feet away, realized the ship was sinking and tried to jump off. He straightened his tie and let out a nervous chuckle. "Well, this seems like a domestic dispute. Very messy. I'll just excuse myself. Good luck, Vanessa. You really stepped in it." He turned to walk away, hoping to disappear into the crowd. "Derek," Lucas said. He didn't shout, but the authority in his voice stopped Derek dead in his tracks. Derek turned slowly, sweating. "Yes, Mr. Sterling?" "Where are you going?" Lucas asked. "We aren't done." I have an early meeting," Derek lied, his eyes darting around the room, "with a big client." "I am the big client. Sterling Enterprises accounts for 80% of your firm's revenue. Or it did." Derek's face went gray. "Sir, please, it was just banter, locker room talk. I didn't know who you were." "That's the problem, Derek," Lucas said, stepping down one stair so he was eye level with the terrified man. "I treated you like trash because you thought I was poor. If you treat a waiter like dirt, but a billionaire like a king, you aren't a businessman, you're a snake." Lucas looked up at the VIP box where his legal team was standing. "Cancel the contract with Derek's firm, effective immediately." "No!" Derek shouted, falling to his knees. "You can't! That contract is my career! I'll be blacklisted! I have a mortgage! I have a boat!" "Sell the boat," Lucas said coldly. "Maybe buy a truck. I hear they're reliable." Security moved in and grabbed Derek by the arms, dragging him out as he screamed apologies that no one listened to. Vanessa watched him go, her eyes wide with terror. She realized she was completely alone. Her ally was gone, her funding was gone, her reputation was ash. But then the double doors at the back of the room opened again. "What on earth is going on in here?" The voice was loud and annoyed. Gary and Brenda Maxwell, Vanessa's parents, walked in. They had been in the private lounge, complaining about the appetizers, completely missing the drama. They marched through the parted crowd, looking confused. "Vanessa?" Brenda called out, squinting at the stage. "Why are you crying? And why is that Lucas?" Gary scoffed, adjusting his glasses. "What is he doing on stage? Did he fix the microphone? Get down from there, boy. You're ruining the aesthetic." The entire room gasped. Gary and Brenda had no idea they were walking into a lion's den. Vanessa waved her hands frantically. "Mom! Dad! Stop! Don't talk!" "Don't shush me," Gary snapped. He walked right up to the stage, looking up at Lucas with pure disdain. "I told you to wait in the car. You have zero respect. You are embarrassing this family." Lucas looked at his in-laws, the people who had mocked his clothes, his job, and his existence for 3 years. He smiled. It was a calm, terrifying smile. "Hello, Gary. Hello, Brenda. I'm glad you could join us. We were just talking about inheritances." Gary laughed. "Inheritance? What inheritance? The only thing you'll inherit is debt and bad genes." Lucas gestured to the giant screen behind him. Suddenly, the image changed. It wasn't a video of Vanessa. It was a document, a deed to a house. Gary squinted. That's my house. That's the Maxwell estate." "It was, until you leveraged it to bail out Vanessa's company last year, a loan funded by Sterling Enterprises." Gary's face dropped. But how do you know that?" "Because I'm the one who approved the loan, and I'm the one who just foreclosed on it." Gary and Brenda froze. The color drained from their faces so fast they looked like ghosts. But that's our home," Brenda whispered, clutching her pearls. "We've lived there for 30 years. "And you treated me like a stray dog in my own home for 3 years. You told me I wasn't good enough to sit at your table, so now you don't have a table." Vanessa screamed. "You can't do this to my parents. They're elderly." "They're bullies," Lucas said, "and I'm done being the victim." He turned to his father, William. "Dad, is the paperwork ready?" William nodded, handing Lucas a thick manila envelope. Lucas took the envelope and held it out toward Vanessa. "This isn't just an eviction notice. This is something much worse. Open it." Vanessa's hand shook as she reached for the envelope. She had no idea what was inside, but judging by the look in Lucas's eyes, it was the final nail in her coffin. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Vanessa's trembling fingers tore open the seal of the envelope. She pulled out a stack of documents, her eyes scanning the first page. Her breath hitched. Then she flipped to the second page, and her face went from pale to a sickly shade of gray. "Divorce papers?" she whispered, looking up at Lucas with watery eyes. You're serving me divorce papers in front of the entire city?" "Keep reading," Lucas said, his voice void of emotion. "Page 3 is more interesting." Vanessa flipped the page. Her eyes widened in horror. It wasn't legal jargon. It was a spreadsheet, a list of transactions, dates, times, and amounts. I don't know what this is," she stammered, clutching the papers to her chest to hide them from the cameras. It's a forensic audit of your agency's finances, Lucas announced to the room. You see, when I bought the bank that held your loans, I also gained access to your company's internal records. You've been skimming money, Vanessa, embezzling funds from client accounts to pay for your parents' country club fees, your leased cars, and this gala. The crowd gasped. The whispers turned into a roar of judgment. "That's a lie," she shrieked, looking around wildly. "He cooked the books. He's trying to frame me because I fired him." "We have the wire transfers, Vanessa." William Sterling stepped in, his voice deep and final. "Traceable, digital, undeniable. You stole over $200,000 from investors, including the mayor's re-election fund." The mayor, sitting at the front table, stood up slowly. He looked furious. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number immediately. Vanessa looked at her parents, desperate for backup. "Mom, Dad, tell them I'm honest. Tell them I would never do this." Gary Maxwell, who had been sneering at Lucas just minutes ago, looked at the furious mayor, then at the billionaire William Sterling, and finally at his daughter. He did the math instantly. "I knew it," Gary said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He stepped away from Vanessa, brushing imaginary dirt off his suit. "I told Brenda something was fishy. She was always spending money she didn't have. We had nothing to do with this." Vanessa's jaw dropped. "Dad, what are you saying? I did it for you. I did it to keep up appearances for your reputation." "Don't drag us into your mess," Brenda snapped, clutching her purse. She turned to Lucas, putting on a sickly sweet smile. "Lucas, darling, surely you know we aren't involved. We were victims of her lies, too. We always liked you, really. We were just tough love. We wanted you to be motivated." Lucas looked at his in-laws, the people throwing their own daughter to the wolves to save their social standing. It was pathetic. "You always liked me?" Lucas asked, raising an eyebrow. "Is that why you made me eat in the kitchen last Christmas while you entertained guests in the dining room?" Brenda flinched. "That was a misunderstanding. It was cruelty. And seeing you turn on your own daughter the second things get hard, that tells me exactly where she learned it from." Lucas turned back to Vanessa. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face, not fake tears this time, but tears of total defeat. Her husband was a billionaire, her parents had betrayed her, and her career was over. "You have nothing left, Vanessa. No money, no status, no family." Vanessa stared at the floor. Then a low sound escaped her throat. It started as a sob, but it twisted into a laugh, a dark, broken laugh. She looked up, and her face had changed. The mask was gone. The polished CEO was gone. All that was left was pure, unfiltered rage. "You think you won?" she spat, stepping closer to the edge of the stage, her eyes wild. "You think you're better than me because your daddy has money. You're still nothing, Lucas. You're a coward who hid who he was because he knew he couldn't get a woman like me without a checkbook." "I hid who I was to see if you were worth the checkbook," Lucas countered, "and you proved you weren't worth a dime." "I made you," she screamed, lunging forward. "I let you live in my house. I gave you a purpose. You owe me. You owe me half of everything. I am your wife." She tried to climb the stairs, her nails curved like claws, ready to tear at him. "Security!" William barked. Tiny moved fast, but he didn't need to, because at that exact moment, the main doors of the ballroom burst open again. Blue and red lights flashed from the hallway outside. 3 uniformed police officers marched in, scanning the room. "Vanessa Maxwell?" the lead officer shouted. Vanessa froze on the bottom step. She looked at the police, then back at Lucas. "I called them 10 minutes ago." Lucas said, buttoning his jacket. "Embezzlement is a felony, Vanessa, and unlike me, the law doesn't give second chances." Vanessa's legs gave out. She collapsed on the stairs, sobbing into her hands as the officers approached with handcuffs. But as the officer grabbed her wrists, Lucas raised a hand. "Wait." The room went silent. Was he going to spare her? Was he going to show mercy at the last second? Lucas walked down the stairs, stopping just inches from where she knelt. He leaned in close so only she could hear. "That cheap ring I gave you," Lucas said, pointing to the diamond on her finger she had always complained was too small. "It's not glass. It's a rare vintage diamond worth $3 million. I wanted you to carry a fortune on your hand without knowing it, just to see if you'd ever appreciate the gesture instead of the value." Vanessa looked at the ring, her eyes widening in horror as the realization hit her. She had been wearing a fortune while calling him poor. "And since it was a gift," Lucas stood up, his voice turning cold, "the police will need to take it as evidence for the restitution you owe." He signaled the officer, "Take it off her." If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more.
Vanessa watched in horror as the officer slid the $3 million ring off her finger. She felt lighter, but not in a good way. It felt like a piece of her soul, the greedy part that craved status above all else, was being confiscated and placed into a plastic evidence bag. $3 million? She whispered, her voice cracking. "I had $3 million on my hand while I was making you sleep on the couch?" "You had a lot more than that, Vanessa," Lucas said, looking down at her with a mix of pity and finality. "You had a husband who would have given you the world if you had just asked nicely instead of demanding it." "I can change!" she screamed as the officers hauled her to her feet. The handcuffs clicked tight, pinching her skin. "Lucas, please, I'll go to therapy. I'll read the contracts. I'll be better. Don't let them take me to jail." Lucas turned his back to her. "You had 3 years to be better. You chose to be bitter." "Lucas," she shrieked, struggling against the officers. "I love you! I love you!" "No," Lucas said, not looking back. "You love the lifestyle you think I can give you. Goodbye, Vanessa." The officers dragged her toward the exit. The guests, the elite of the city, parted like the Red Sea, holding up their phones to record her walk of shame. The sound of her weeping faded as the heavy doors slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate. The room was quiet for a moment, save for the nervous shuffling of feet. Then Gary Maxwell cleared his throat. "Well," Gary said, forcing a terrifyingly fake laugh, "that was intense, but justice was served, right? She broke the law. We had no idea." He stepped toward Lucas, extending a hand. "Lucas, my boy, now that the bad apple is gone, maybe we can start fresh. Brunch next Sunday? My treat." Brenda nodded eagerly. "Yes, we can redecorate the estate together. I always said you had an eye for detail." Lucas looked at his in-laws. They were like cockroaches, surviving a nuclear blast and looking for the next crumb. "There won't be a brunch," Lucas said, ignoring Gary's hand, "and there won't be an estate." Gary's smile faltered. "Now, Lucas, let's not be rash. You foreclosed, sure, but we can work out a payment plan. We're family." William Sterling stepped forward, his shadow engulfing Gary. "My son doesn't do payment plans with parasites." Lucas pulled a folded paper from his pocket, the last document from the envelope. "I'm not just foreclosing on the house, Gary. I just got off the phone with the board of the country club you love so much, the one where you made fun of my boots last week." Gary paled. "What did you do?" "I bought it," Lucas said simply, "and your memberships have been permanently revoked, along with anyone associated with the Maxwell name." Brenda gasped. "You can't do that! That's our social circle! That's our life!" Then I guess you'll have to find a new life. Maybe try a public park. It's free, and the people there are nicer." He signaled to Tiny, "Escort them out, and make sure they wait on the curb. No valet service for non-members." Gary and Brenda sputtered, red-faced and humiliated, as security guided them toward the exit, their cries of "unfair" echoing in the hall. When they were gone, the ballroom felt lighter. The air was cleaner. Lucas let out a long breath, his shoulders finally dropping. He felt a hand on his back. William was smiling at him. "You handled that well," William said softly. "Better than I would have. I would have bought their car company, too." Lucas chuckled, a genuine sound. "I think they've lost enough, Dad. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted freedom." "You have it," William said. "So what now? The company is yours. The city is watching. What's your first move, Mr. Sterling?" Lucas looked out at the crowd, the investors, the moguls, the social climbers. They were all looking at him with respect now, or maybe fear. It didn't matter. He knew who he was. "First," Lucas said, adjusting his cheap tie one last time, "I'm going to get a burger, a greasy one, from that diner Vanessa hated." William laughed. "I'll drive." "No," Lucas smiled. "We'll take my truck. It has character." They walked out of the ballroom together, father and son, leaving the glitz and the glamour behind. As they stepped out into the cool night air, Lucas looked up at the city skyline. He had money now, yes. He had power, but more importantly, he had his dignity back. He realized then that the richest man in the room isn't the one with the biggest bank account. It's the one who can look in the mirror and like who he sees. Lucas climbed into his rusted truck, the engine roaring to life with a loud, messy cough that sounded like music. He pulled out of the parking lot, leaving the luxury cars in his dust. He was finally driving his own road. If you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more.